Waking up in the freezing darkness of a moving carriage, your head throbbing and your memories fractured. This was the nightmare facing the Zmon, a modern woman who had survived a plane crash only to find herself trapped in the body of Lin Qingwen, a high-born daughter of the prestigious Lin family in medieval China. But there were no silk robes or servants here. In a move of staggering cruelty, her own sister had drugged her and sold her to a human trafficker, intending to erase her from existence. Stripped of her status and identity, Qingwen was dragged to a rural market to be sold like livestock. The price for a woman of her beauty was 20 taels of silver a fortune for a peasant. Just as despair began to take root, a rugged, broad-shouldered farmer named Yang Teju stepped forward. He didn't have the silver, but he had a healthy pig and his life's savings. In a trade that shocked the onlookers, he bartered the animal for a wife. To the world, Qingwen was now lower than a pig, but to Teju, she was a treasure he promised to protect with his life. The transition to the Yang household was a baptism by fire. The family was poor, and the atmosphere was toxic. Her mother-in-law, Madame He, was a bitter woman who viewed Qingwen as an expensive, useless mouth to feed. Her eldest sister-in-law was lazy and manipulative, looking for any excuse to bully the new girl. Yet, amidst the back-breaking chores and the cold stares, Teju was a constant shield. He realized that as a bought wife, Qingwen had no legal rights or dignity. To fix this, he risked his life hunting in the treacherous Luoxia Mountains, facing predators to earn enough for a proper wedding. He wanted the village to see her not as property, but as a woman honored with 3 matchmakers and 6 rituals. His devotion was the spark that turned Qingwen's fear into a fierce, protective love. But Qingwen knew that love alone wouldn't put food on the table or keep their enemies at bay. Using the business acumen of a modern orphan and the refined embroidery skills of her new body, she began to build an empire from the mud. She didn't just stitch, she created art. She mastered the rare double-sided embroidery, creating pieces so exquisite they fetched prices that turned the local shopkeepers' heads. She didn't stop at silk. Looking at the simple farmhouse kitchen, she saw a gene. She introduced 13 spices, a seasoning blend unknown to this era, and revolutionized the way meat was cured. She turned the winter chore of making sausages into a year-round industrial workshop. She was strategic, involving her kind-hearted third brother-in-law and his wife to build a loyal inner circle, effectively insulating her marriage from the greed of the main Yang house. When the family tried to claim her earnings, she used her wit to navigate the complex filial laws of the Great Shi dynasty, ensuring her wealth stayed where it belonged. Her influence rippled through the village. She became a silent benefactor, hiring the downtrodden and giving them away to buy their way out of military conscription or debt. She wasn't just a farmer's wife, she was becoming a matriarch. Then, the past came knocking. Her biological brother, Lin Qingting, who had disappeared years ago into the army, returned as a powerful, battle-hardened officer. He had spent years climbing the ranks specifically to find and rescue his sister from the clutches of their stepmother. He arrived expecting to find a broken woman. Instead, he found a thriving businesswoman, a beloved wife, and a woman who had built her own palace out of grit and spices. With his military might and her financial power, the tables finally turned on the Lin family. Those who had sold her were forced to watch from the shadows as she ascended to heights they could no longer reach. As the years passed, the small farmhouse was replaced by a sprawling estate, Qingguan and Tiju. As life became a legend in the province, the story of the lady and the farmer who conquered poverty together. They stood by each other through the birth of their children, through the changing of seasons, and through the rise and fall of empires. In her final years, looking out over the lands they owned and the family they had raised, Qingwan realized that her sister's curse had been her greatest blessing. She wasn't buried in the mud. She was planted in fertile soil. And Tiju, the man who had traded a pig for her hand, stayed true to the vow he made on their first night. He never sought another woman, never wavered in his respect, and in the quiet of their old age he would still lean in to whisper the words that had become the foundation of her world. "I will always be good to you, without any conditions."